What about the group that you have now feels different from the one that you had as recently as early March?
Yeah, well, we have more guys. We have 13 scholarship guys, so that's different. It's the first time we've had that since we've been here. We have some returning guys that have been with us since we've been here, so that's helpful. We have 4 guys back that have been with us, the whole time we've been here, so they have a little bit better understanding of what it is we do and how we do things. We have 3 sophomores back, which is very helpful for us, and then we have some talented new guys. So, we have more size, we have more depth. Now it's trying to figure out how to put that all together.
Hey, Jeff, with all that's gone on this year, what's the significance of this day and getting started for you guys?
Well, it continues to give us hope. These young people have gone through are going through a very difficult time, a time that's unlike any other in the history of college athletics. And it's challenging, if you look at the current environment of everything that's going on with how they're taking classes, just how they're moving around, all the different protocols that are just, it's not normal. It's very different, especially for a college kid. To have a little bit of normalcy, some sort of normalcy, and then to have hope, as we continue to shoot to get closer, to playing on November 25th, knowing that that's not going to be normal, but the fact that there's hope. And so that's something that it's really important for us to continue to follow the guidelines and the protocols that have been laid out by our governor, by the doctors, by the scientists, and by our university. And hopefully we can continue to do that and, not have any delays or interruptions.
Jeff, I'm sure it's unique. I am sure you have a better understanding than us, but how is it to have a first day of practice without a schedule out yet, and you don't really know how the season's going to look entirely?
Yeah, it's different. I mean, everything is different. It's not normal, and so it's a challenge. Look, the thing we've tried to do since the beginning, just the beginning of this, and something I talked to our guys about in March as we went forward in April, and as we kept going forward, is just to try to control what we can control. And right now, that's our effort, that's our discipline, that's doing the things off the court, following the guidelines, the protocols that have been laid out before us. And then when we show up here, to have energy, to have enthusiasm, to listen, and to try to get better each day. And those things eventually will fall in place. But it is very, very different. For a coach and a player, you're creatures of habit. And all the things that we've normally done and how we've done them are thrown out of whack. And that can make you a little wacky. And so we're trying to just concentrate on the things that we can control and do that.
Coach, I know right now he's still in a tough position with the eligibility and all that, but what kind of role and impact could Nike make this year if he were to be eligible?
Well, he gives us a guy that has experience on the college level in the backcourt. Really, we have Aldis and we have Xavier that have experience. Ithiel does, but he hadn't played in a year. And so Nike would be a guy that gives us experience. He scored over 1,500 points. He's a really good athlete. And he just gives us another guy that could help create offense for us.
Jeff, you talked about your guys and their sort of habits and that kind of thing disrupted, but your freshman class doesn't have any habits. Does that make it even harder for them to adjust to the college level, or does maybe everybody else being out of sorts maybe make it more of an even playing field for those guys?
Yeah, we've tried to develop them. They don't have them, but we've been here since June 28th. We've had a chance to work with our guys since July 20th. And so what we've tried to do during that time, although it was brief, we've really tried to create habits, to create good habits, to try to break some habits, trying to teach them how hard they have to work, how they have to show up every day, all the things that we're trying to do. And so, again, I don't know how it is everywhere else. Certainly everyone's starting same time. July 20th was the date that was pushed back, probably about a month from when you'd normally start. For us, we would have had our guys here at the end of sometime around June when we would have been able to start right away. And so, again, we're just trying to control what we can control. We're trying to help those guys get better. They're lucky in that they have 4 guys that have been here, with us for 2 years that can help them along the way, and also Justin can help them.
Coach, it seems like, at least on social media, this team is pretty tight already, for everything they've been through. Is that a result of the virus or the social injustice issue this summer, or what? Why does this team seem to be tight already this early?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams, in the summer, become tight. I think these circumstances maybe help that a little bit. The other thing is that you're really not in the playing time yet. You're not into that. Sometimes that can be the thing that causes a team not to become as tight. There's still a lot of hope, but we really like this group. We like who they've been so far. We really like how they've worked, how they've tried to show up every day. We still have a lot of work to do to get better. A lot. We have to be more disciplined. We have to continue to understand how much we need each other. We have to show up every day. We have to keep our promises to things, that we've talked about, like how we have to play, how we have to live. We have to do that at a very, very high level. And we have to continue to learn how to do that.
Coach, over the summer, you and a few of your players are very outspoken about the Black Lives Matter movement, the different protests that were going on around the country. Without, I'm not asking you to give away anything secret or anything like that. But do you guys have plans to continue that trend throughout the season as games start? I don't know if anything that my guys have done, and certainly nothing that I've done, has been planned. It's stuff that comes from the heart. Unfortunately for me, as a black head coach, I had to have these conversations with my guys even before George Floyd. This is a responsibility that I've always felt, once I became an adult, and certainly once I got into coaching, to educate our young people on certain rights, certain responsibilities that you have as a student athlete, and then the things that you're going to go through and experience as a black man in this country. And so, the thing that we've talked to our guys about is to be true to who you are. If you feel something and you feel strongly and passionately about it, and you want to express yourself, do it. And we'll be with you. We'll help. We've had a lot of conversations. We continue to have conversations with the young people that, really feel it and that really are impacted by it. Some aren't, which is fine. I've never tried to force anything on anyone, just like I don't want anybody trying to force anything on me.
Jeff, I'm curious, and I'm sorry my background here is so dark. I'm not calling from some lair or something, but you mentioned the way that players have to live. I mean, Narduzzi, when we talk to him, he says, look, my kids have to be out in the world, but if you have 85 guys at your disposal, you have a little more wiggle room roster-wise if you have a couple of guys, test positive. I mean, what are some of the rules you've kind of given your kids in terms of trying to make sure that they're safe and protected in this environment?
Just to follow the protocols that our university and athletic department have come up with. Certainly I understand that they're college students, and this experience is very different, very unique than any college person has gone through. But if we want to have a season, then we have to do it. That's part of discipline. And, part of discipline is doing what you're supposed to do the first time, all the time, doing it right, and to do it when no one's watching. And, it probably is a little bit easier with 100 people on your team and with 85 scholarships. For us, you know, if we have a mix-up or a misstep, that affects everyone, and that could affect games, that could affect part of our season. And so we really have to be mindful, and that's what I mean about being a part of something bigger than you, thinking about, you know, our team instead of your individual stuff. It's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge, but if we want to have a chance to play and to have a season and to play games and to, you know, do those things, and look, it's all sacrifices and things that you have to do. But to become a really good player, to become a really good team, you have to have that discipline. You have to have it.
Jeff, have you had a chance to finalize your non-conference schedule yet?
No.
And, is the ACC still planning to play 20 games this season?
We have not finalized the schedule, and to my knowledge right now, there will be 20 ACC games.
Jeff, listening to some of your podcast appearances in the offseason, you cited improving three-point shooting. I mean, what goes into that? Does that, you know, fall on the returning guys? Are there some new guys that kind of can add to that? I mean, what have you seen? I know it's just the first day.
Yeah, it's improving shooting, period. You know, it's no mistake. Last year was one of the worst shooting teams that this program has ever had. And so it's not just three-point shooting. It's improving our shooting. You know, part of it is making sure we get really good shots, the execution, you know, of what it is we're trying to run, understanding the importance of screening, of cutting, of movement, and doing those things with the purpose of being shot ready, and then being confident shooting the basketball. You know, certainly I think we have some guys, you know, with Ithiel being able to play, who's, you know, has a reputation of a shooter and has really shot the ball well in our preseason stuff. You know, I thought Aldis improved last year. You know, Justin has to be more consistent. He showed that he can do it, but doing it on a consistent basis. The same thing with Xavier. You know, Will Jeffers is a guy that's shown that he can shoot the basketball. And so, but you know, we have to do that in game situations. But again, it's not just threes, you know, making sure, hopefully, you know, we can get an inside presence this year where we can maybe get some easy baskets inside. We can draw some fouls. And so it's just improving shooting. You know, we want to get a higher percentage shot, and hopefully we're able to knock down shots.
What do you think of the bubble concept, and are you considering it for your team?
You know, we aren't considering it just because our league isn't considering it. You know, we're not going to go off and do anything, you know, without the input and the cooperation of our league. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm a basketball coach, and so I'm going to follow the lead of the people that are experts in that field. I don't know much about pandemics. I don't know much about medicine or any of those things. And so we're going to follow the lead of what the people tell us to do. As of right now, I don't know of any bubbles within the ACC. That's something that our league has not talked about. You know, it's a concept as coaches that we have talked about that we think could be beneficial for us, but it's not something that you know, as of right now, that it looks like will happen.
Jeff, not only did you add some size down low, but you added some size on the wings as well. How much versatility does that give you in terms of the lineups that you can put out there, especially defensively? And have you started to think about, you know, get excited about those different things you can do that maybe you haven't been able to do the last 2 years?
Yeah, you know, it definitely gives us a chance to be more versatile. You know, we could be bigger. You know, we could play bigger lineups. We can play bigger guys together. You know, we could play smaller, but be, you know, athletic and things like that. Look, one of the biggest keys for us is rebounding. Like, we have to defensive rebound. I think in our first 2 years, you know, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've been in the top 5 in defense, top 5 or 6, or the top half of the league. You know, we've been there, and that's without even being a really good defensive rebounding team. That's an area where we have to improve. And so hopefully with the size, with the length, with the athleticism, we're able to do that. Hopefully with the added depth, we have more competition in practice, more competition for playing time, where we can improve in that area. But I am excited about the possibilities and some of the different things that we can do with this group. We can potentially do with this group.
Coach, you guys have last year. You guys were statistically speaking one of the slowest teams in the country in terms of pace. Is that going to be a point of emphasis this year, playing faster with the better athletes that you have this year?
You know, we wanted to play fast our first 2 years. We hadn't had the personnel, and then last year we couldn't make a shot, and so you know it was hard for us to. And we didn't defensive rebound, so it was hard for us to get out in transition. Hopefully this year, with hopefully we can improve rebounding. With more depth, we play more guys. You know that we do improve in that area. It's not something that we've tried to do. That was part of a game plan, is to slow it down and to have few possessions. It's just something that's happened.
Coach,
Jeff,
because of
well,
the
with
COVID precautions this year and everything, you can't have recruits on campus. How have you been pitching your school? How has your staff been kind of pitching what you guys want to do with this program and how it's going to look in the future to recruits?
Yeah, you know, it's a challenge for everyone as far as recruiting. You know, it's a lot of Zooms, FaceTimes, you know, FaceTime calls. You know, you've had to try to be creative. You know, I feel really bad for the young people in high school, especially the kids in the 2021 class, because a lot of them are having to make decisions without seeing campus, without having the human interaction person to person, whether it's in their home, at their school, or having a chance to come on campus to see the environment. But, you know, we've tried to do Zooms. That's, you know, just like everyone else is doing, trying to find creative ways to get people to, you know, to get young people to see our campus. You know, for us, it's been a challenge. But I think it's that way for everyone. I have felt since I've been here that one of the most important things for us is to get kids on campus. You know, a lot of kids, a lot of people have a perception of Pittsburgh, of what it is. And I have found in my 2 years that when we've been able to get kids on campus, they're kind of blown away because the city is not anything like they expected it to be, how they imagine it to be. And so that's hurt us a little bit, but we feel good about where we are. You know, right now in the 21 class, we only have one scholarship. So we've tried to be very selective about what we do. We're hopeful to get two, hopefully, you know, hopefully we get some good news with Nike. And if we do that, then we'd have two scholarships available. But, you know, we're in a position where we can try to be a little bit selective.
Jeff, with Femi, what's the timetable, you know, on a possible return for him? I've seen pictures and videos, you know, where he doesn't have any cast or any kind of sling on. I know if things had accelerated at all or if anything's changed.
Well, he's able to do non-contact practice. So he's able to do anything in practice without any contact. And as we continue to progress, there's no definitive timetable for him yet as far as when he'll be cleared for full contact. But everything else, you know, he's been doing now for probably about what's today, Wednesday? So probably about a week. Tomorrow will be a week where he's been doing things without contact.
Jeff, obviously can't be around all the time. Who have you seen already kind of stepping up in leadership roles for this team, even this early on?
Well, it's really, you know, the returning guys, you know, more so Xavier and Aldis, Justin, Itfield. Those guys have you know, tried to do a good job with that. You know, we need them to continue to do that. You know, we need other guys to step up and do it. You know, one of the things we've tried to teach since I've been here is that ownership of the program. Like, it's not mine. I'm the caretaker. It's ours though. And, you know, it's on all of us to make this thing work. And in order to do that, again, you guys have heard me say this last year, and you're going to continue to hear me say it. We have to understand how much we need each other, everyone. And everyone has a really, really important role. And we need everyone doing their role at an extremely high level every day.
Jeff, do you kind of see some parallels with Xavier and Justin? You know, they both had big freshman seasons without expectations. And, you know, now it's Justin's turn to kind of play with expectations.
Interesting question. I think a very good question. Something we've talked to Justin a lot about. You know, Justin can learn a lot from Xavier and what Xavier went through with the expectations. You're right on. I mean, it's very different when you're playing with expectations. Sometimes that can get the best of you. You know, sometimes you're getting patted on the back and everyone's telling you how good you are. And that can make you a little bit soft. That can make you feel yourself a little bit. And you don't work as hard. You don't do things as hard as you normally did. And so that is something that we've talked to Justin about. We're very mindful of it. We haven't seen anything like that yet as far as that, you know, it's affecting him that way, but it is something that we have talked about.
Jeff,
But you've kind of played an unconventional 5 spot for the last 2 years. You mentioned an emphasis on rebounding. Do you feel better about your big man spot and who's going to be playing the 5 spot, and that you have that size and length there now?
Well, we have options. You know, we certainly have more options than we've had. I do feel good about where we are, but we still have a lot of work to do. I don't know who it's going to be yet as far as starting in that spot. But again, we have options, and so that creates competition. And, you know, we have 42 days before we're able to figure out, you know, before we have to put it out there of who gets that spot.
Jeff, we've seen in football, there's been a big disparity in what teams are doing as far as being allowed to have fans, some none at all, some totally full. Is in football, there's a much greater separation between the players and the fans typically. Are you expecting there to be some kind of either NCAA-wide or ACC-wide policy about, you know, removing fans from courtside or a capacity limit or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm following what they tell us to do. I'm, you know, one of the things about being a good teammate is being a good listener, being a good player or coach. And so in this thing, I'm not an expert. That's not my field. Just like I don't try to tell you guys how to write your articles. I don't know that stuff. What I try to do is concentrate on what I do. And so I'm going to listen to the scientists. I'm going to listen to the doctors and whatever they say. I'm not going to listen to a politician, but I'm going to listen to the scientists and I'm going to listen to the doctors, and I'm going to try to follow everything they tell us to do.
Jeff, as a coach and as someone who's gotten to know him pretty well here over the past couple months, how have you sort of internalized everything going on with Nike's fight? Fight, I guess, for immediate eligibility here, and what have you kind of made of everything going on?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, and it's a really tough position to put, you know, universities, to put athletic departments, programs, coaches, athletic directors in. You know, I've been on both sides of it. This is, I think, the first time I've been on this side of it. You know, since I've been here at Pitt, we've had guys transfer. And when I first got the job here, you know, we had some guys transfer before I coached them. With those guys, I didn't have anything to do with the transfer process because I never coached them. And so if a waiver came across where a school wanted, you know, immediate eligibility for that individual, I didn't deal with that because I didn't coach them. I don't know their situation. A lot of the times I didn't even know what was going on, a waiver that came across. But since that semester ended, like the first semester of my first year, I think at semester we had someone that left. And then any kid after that that's decided to leave, if they have wanted a waiver, the thing that we have told the kid, that particular university and athletic department, and their coach is that we're not going to lie. So I'm not going to say, you know, he didn't have a scholarship. I don't believe in running kids off. That's not who I am. So I'm not going to say that. You know, I had a coach ask, well, would you say that he wouldn't have played next year? He'd be the 12th or 13th guy. No, I'm not going to say that because he led us in minutes played. I'm not going to lie. But what I will do is I'll support a waiver because even though the kid left, I care about the kid, right? Like I'm not going to do anything to hurt the kid or to get in the kid's way. So I'll give you an example. Trey McGowan's. I love Trey. Just because he left doesn't mean that I don't care about Trey. Trey believed in us
when we first got here, before we coached the game here. He didn't feel like this situation was going to help him going forward. I may not agree with that, but I respect him and I care about him. And so I don't remember the exact month, but one of my assistants got a text from Trey saying that he was going to apply for a waiver to be able to play right away. And I asked the assistant, do you think coach would support it? And the assistant said, hey, you should reach out to coach. This is part of you, what we tried to teach you here, becoming a man. You need to reach out to coach. The assistant reached out to me and let me know that. He shared with me that text exchange. I didn't hear from Trey. I text Trey at midnight that night, which was technically the next day. And I said to him, hey, look, I know you've reached out to Coach Brown. I love you, man. I'll do anything I can to help you. And I said, I know your coaching staff. I know Fred. I know Doc. I know all your guys there. You can have any of them reach out to me. Anything I can do to help you, I'll do it. Fred and I talked the next day, Hoiberg. And, we went through stuff and things like that. And I told him, like, look, I'll do anything I can to help him. Now I'm going to let you know I'm not going to lie. And so that's what I've tried to do, because to me, it's about trying to help the kid continue to fulfill his dream and live out his dream. Now, is it right for the NCAA to put the institution that the kid is leaving in that position? Who's to say on that? Again, I'm no expert, but we're hopeful. We're hopeful that Nike is able to play right away. He had a really good experience at Miami of Ohio. He really cared about his coaches. He cared about the people there, and he worked his butt off for 3 years there. And we're hopeful that the NCAA will grant the appeal and he'll be able to play.